James Robert Wills, born on March 6, 1905, was a well-known Western swing musician, bandleader, and songwriter. He is widely regarded as the pioneer of Western swing by music experts, and was often referred to as the king of Western swing, although Spade Cooley also claimed this title from 1942 to 1969 through self-promotion. Wills started his musical career by forming multiple bands and performing on various radio stations across the South and West. In 1934, he established the Texas Playboys, which included members such as Tommy Duncan on piano and vocals, rhythm guitarist June Whalen, tenor banjoist Johnny Lee Wills, and Kermit Whalen on steel guitar and bass. Eldon Shamblin, a guitar player from Oklahoma, joined the band in 1937 and brought with him a jazz influence and unique arrangements. The band became popular for its jazz-like arrangements and regularly played on KVUO, a radio station based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. With the addition of Leon McAuliffe on steel guitar, pianist Al Strickland, drummer Smokey Dacus, and a horn section, the band's sound expanded and gained nationwide recognition in the 1940s. The band's hits included Steel Guitar Rag, San Antonio Rose, Smoke on the Water, Stars and Stripes on Iwo Jima, and New Spanish Two-Step. So sit back and relax as we explore the life and music of the king of Western swing, Bob Wills.
Before we begin, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so you don't miss a single one of our upcoming videos.
He was born to Emma Lee Foley and John Tompkins Wills in Caussey, Texas, on a cotton farm. Although his parents were primarily of English descent, they also had distant Irish roots. Music ran in the family, with his father being a statewide champion fiddle player and some of his siblings also playing musical instruments. The family often hosted country dances at their home and played at ranch dances popular in West Texas when they lived in Hall County. It was in this environment that Wills learned to play the fiddle and mandolin at a young age. Not only did Wills learn traditional music from his family, but he also acquired blues songs from African-American families who worked in the cotton fields near Lakeview, Texas. As a child, he mostly interacted with African-American children and picked up their musical styles and dances such as jigs. Until he was around 7 or 8 years old, he had little contact with other white children beyond his family. In 1913, the Wills family relocated to Hall County in the Texas Panhandle and later purchased a farm between Lakeview and Turkey, Texas, in 1919. Bob Wills was born on a cotton farm in Caussey, Texas, where he learned to play the fiddle and mandolin from his musically inclined family. During his childhood, he interacted mainly with African-American children, learning their music and dance styles. At 16, Wills left his family and began traveling by hopping freight trains under the name Jim Robb. He moved from town to town, trying to make a living, and almost fell from a moving train at one point. In his 20s, he attended barber school, married his first wife Edna, and worked as a barber in Turkey before moving to Fort Worth, where he played in minstrel and medicine shows and continued to work as a barber. He wore blackface makeup for comedy routines and was known for being talkative on stage, a trait he picked up from family, local cowboys, and black musicians he had heard growing up. Wills idolized Bessie Smith and Emmett Miller and added their rowdy city blues to his repertoire of waltzes and breakdowns. His vocal style was patterned after Miller and Al Bernard, among other performers. In Fort Worth, Wills formed the Wills Fiddle Band with Herman Arnspiger, which later became known as the Light Crust Doughboys. Milton Brown joined the group as lead vocalist and introduced innovations, including twin fiddles, tenor banjo, and slap bass, pushing the music toward swing, which they played on local radio and at dance halls. After forming his band, the Playboys, Bob Wills moved to Waco, Texas, where he gained popularity and decided to move to a bigger market. In January 1934, Wills and his band left Waco for Oklahoma City, where they settled and renamed themselves the Texas Playboys. Wills began broadcasting noon shows over the 50,000-watt KVO radio station from the stage of Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and played dances in the evenings. Wills' repertoire included songs such as One Star Rag, Rat Cheese Under the Hill, Take Me Back to Tulsa, Basin Street Blues, Steel Guitar Rag, and Trouble in Mind. The band unintentionally gained a trumpet player when Wills hired announcer Everett Stover, not knowing that he had played with the New Orleans Symphony and had directed the governor's band in Austin. Stover began playing with the band, and Wills allowed him to continue. Young saxophonist Zeb McNally was also eventually hired despite Wills's initial disapproval. Smokey Dacus, a modern-style musician, was hired as a drummer to balance out the horns. Throughout the mid to late 1930s, Wills continued to expand the band's lineup. The addition of steel guitar player Leon McAuliffe in March 1935 not only added a formidable instrumentalist, but also a second engaging vocalist. The Texas Playboys' first recordings were made in Dallas on September 23rd, 24th, and 25th, 1935. Session rosters from 1938 show the addition of lead guitar and electric guitar to the recordings. Around this time, Wills purchased an antique Guadagnini violin and performed with it. The instrument was worth an estimated $7,600 at the time, but Wills purchased it for only $1,600. In 1940, New San Antonio Rose became a hit, selling 1 million records and becoming the Texas Playboys' signature song. After 1944, the front line of Wills' orchestra consisted of either fiddles or guitars. In December 1942, as World War II was raging and several band members had left the group, Wills joined the Army at 37 years old, but was discharged due to medical reasons in 1943. He then relocated to Hollywood and began reorganizing the Texas Playboys. In Los Angeles, after living a luxurious life in California, Bob Wills moved back to Oklahoma City in 1949 to maintain his payroll and Wills Point. He opened a second club, the Bob Wills Ranch House in Dallas, Texas, but the managers he hired turned out to be dishonest, leaving Wills with heavy debts to the IRS for back taxes. To pay off his debts, he sold many assets, including the rights to his hit song New San Antonio Rose. This financial setback led to Wills's decline in popularity, as radio stations increasingly specialized in commercially popular music, and his music did not fit into either the country and Western or pop music categories. Despite the decline in popularity of Western swing music, Wills continued to tour and record through the 1950s and into the early 1960s. However, his popularity had greatly diminished, and he was largely a forgotten figure until a revival of interest in his music in the early 1970s. Wills suffered 2 heart attacks and a stroke in 1965 and 1969, respectively, which ended his active career. He died in 1975 from pneumonia in Fort Worth. But his legacy lived on through his music and his induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1968. Wills died in Fort Worth of pneumonia on May 13, 1975.